Yeah, hey everyone. So for today's topic, I wanted to expand a little bit more on using SOAP UI, and I thought there's no better way to do that than use our integration platform objects available via the audit log. So the audit log at a high level has a REST and a SOAP-based web service endpoint. And what we're going to do today is essentially follow the query example via the SOAP endpoint for that. So what we'll do in SOAP UI is we'll create a project. From there, we'll import our WSDL. We'll import the different object functionality available via the WSDL. And then from there, we'll consume the audit log entry. I'm not too worried about this actually returning data. We're just going to copy paste the specific search criteria here, which is just any sort of action performed on your atom during a specific range. But as you can see, it's 2016. My concern more is evaluating, we'll see in the SOAP envelope here, how there's security and how we'll implement that on SOAP UI. And then from there, how to implement that within Boomi. So with that said, let's go to SOAP UI. We're going to create a new SOAP project. So I'm just going to pull the WSDL. So the WSDL for this case, it's going to be a little different for yourself. This will all be that is provided with this. I'm just going to call this technical topic. So here's your WSDL. So it's the platform API SOAP version 1, your account ID. So this is going to change question mark WSDL. I'm going to allow it to create a sample skeleton request for us. I'm not really worried about any sort of test suite use cases or file path where you store it. I'm going to click OK. It should be password protected, the WSDL. So what we're going to do is I'm going to type in my credentials. That's the way you're going to access the WSDL. With that said, if you have 2FA enabled, I would disable it, or you have to use a different method, which is explained in our help guide. So if you are using 2FA, just disable it for now, just because we're using our own platform. So there's nothing to worry about with that. So I'm going to sign in. Not sure why that didn't work. 1 second. Great. Now that we're in, as you can see, it created a skeleton of the different functionality available via the SOAP WSDL. So what I'm worried about is the query. So I'm just going to pull up the query request. It's going to create a skeleton request. Just give it a minute. So here's our SOAP envelope, header, body, all of the information we would see within the audit log. So what I'm going to do is take query, copy paste that whole query. So obviously it ends when there's a closing slash. So open query, everything with it, the close. So that's going to be our query criteria. So I'm going to just copy paste here. Awesome. And authentication. So what does the audit log say? It says we need a username token. We'll talk about how to do that in SOAP UI. So it's very simple. Click on your project, technical topic, web service security configuration, outgoing web service security configuration, because we're sending request. Plus, I'm going to call it tech topic OB. Great. So I'm going to add a username. So what I'm going to do, just so I'm not using my own password, is I'm going to use a security token to consume this. So essentially at a high level, you can use your username password, or you can use an Atomsphere API token. So this token can be used as authentication to any sort of Atomsphere-based API audit log included instead of your typical user password. There's use cases where this is needed. So specifically surrounding single sign-on and 2FA functionality, it's easier to do it this way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a new token. So if you're not sure how to do this, go to your settings, go to your account information and setup, and we're here. Atoms for API tokens. I'm going to add a token. I'll just call it tech topic. That's fine. Generate it. This is going to be our password. So what I do, this is my password. The username now, you're doing Boomi underscore token dot, and then your email. Great. So I'm not worried about creating a nonce or create it. So just at a high level, so you understand it, it basically depends on the server. And as you can see here with the sample request provided, just let me pull it up for you guys. There's no nonce or created here. So what a nonce is just a randomly generated token value for security purposes. You can add, and created just indicates when the token was created. It includes a timestamp with it. So as we can see, there's nothing in the request for that. So we do not need those. Password type is going to be text. And the way you can see that is once again from the request. As you can see with the password type hashtag password text. So the other option I believe that SOAPUI allows is password digest. Yep, it does. So password digest is just your passwords encrypted and it's hashed with the nonce and a timestamp. So just more security, well, versus this is going to be a plain text within that security header, but this is what the server states. So we're doing that. So now that that's created, let's go back to our request. Very, very easy. All you're going to do is right click. So what I did, right click, outgoing web services server, apply tech topic OB, click on that, and look at that. We got our security set up. Very easy. So wait for the namespace validation. So your username, as you can see, Boomi token. And then the password is going to be my AtomSphere API token. So with that said, I'm going to send a request and we got nothing back, which is expected because of the specific date time. But if I change this, for example, to 2020, you'll see entries. That wasn't my concern. We know it works as we do get no request back, so the authentication succeeded, and we proved that it was a proper query. That's what I wanted to cover today, and then we'll talk about implementing this within Boomi in the next series of. Enjoy the rest of your day, guys. Bye.